That does, yeah. You want to spill it.
Yeah, we're not under the fry lights.
The outlets at a relationship.
Oh, yes.
There's also one directly behind you.
Slow down. That's good.
Lana, anywhere if Chris was going to be attending?
I have not heard from him.
You might have forgotten.
He usually comes in like
He
right
likes
at the
to
starting
make a
or, like,
grand
a few minutes
late
late,
entrance.
so he'll probably be there.
7:01.
And he might forget that it's 6:30, yeah. I hope she didn't forget.
I can call the meeting to order, and if we need to, we can move some of the other business up. And while we're waiting for the Lamprey River Advisory. So this is the Nottingham Planning Board. It's Wednesday, May 28th. It's 6:30. This is our new time. This is our new place. So welcome, everybody. I'd like to turn it over to Member Ryan for the voluntary recital of the Pledge of Allegiance. This is whether you want to participate or not, that's up to you.
All rise. Good luck.
I put
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That feels a lot better.
I think I'm just gonna try to maybe set this as well, because first stuff is always compatible with other projectors.
Okay.
Take your time.
The wall right there,
Or
over
probably
that
over
way.
here, I'll just, can set the projector up on that table and do it there, if that's okay.
do what, project to that wall?
Yeah, or I could do it here if you wanna move that picture, maybe do that.
Why don't we go ahead and do it there? You could probably put the projector on this middle table.
Yeah,
Project that direction. We'll move the TV out of the way.
Keep going. Future.
Yeah, this is a new room to us, so.
Okay.
Our audio visual is just temporary.
Alright.
So while she's setting up, and I just take your time, don't worry about it. Let's go through a couple other things, if you don't mind moving some of the other business agendas up now. We do have a public hearing, but that's at 7 o'clock, and that's how it was noticed. So we'll actually do that at 7 o'clock. We'll have a presentation here from the Lamprey River Advisory Committee shortly. So let's move up the other business. So signing bylaws. We do have what we went over last meeting. We just have the signature page to add on to it. So I'll just pass this around, have everybody sign it. I don't have a pen, I have a pencil. And then also that came to the planning office was an annual report from the Rockingham County Conservation District. So I'll pass this around too, and we'll just have it in the planning office for everybody to take a look at. And then also, we did receive a letter from, or Drew did, from the Department of Transportation regarding the intersection at Northwood, Nottingham line at Route 4 and 152 intersection. As some people know, the state is looking at alternatives to making improvements to that intersection to make them safer. They have an alternatives analysis. I think there's a couple of them that are being thought of. One is a roundabout, another one's a signal. And so I think there's, well, not I think, but some questions that they are looking for from the town. I don't know if this is something we need to have everybody answer, but they're pretty general questions. And are there any existing or proposed community or regional plans that might have bearing on the project? Are there any natural resources of significance in the vicinity of the project? Are there any local or regional significant water resources in the project vicinity? Cultural resources? Are there any public parks, recreational areas? Water quality concerns? Do we have any of those for that area? Aware of any existing potential hazardous materials or contaminations there? Any existing roadside populations of non-native invasive plant species, knotwood, knotweed, Japanese knotweed, Phragmites, purple loosestrife in that project area. And project will require some mitigation for wetland and stream impacts. They're going to avoid and minimize impacts. Obviously, they don't know the extent of those if they full detailed plan yet. Ask if the project will have significant effect on the surrounding area, any environmental concerns. That also, this letter went also to the fire department, police department, town administrator, select board, highway director, conservation commission, and emergency management director. So I'm happy to take a stab at answering some of these, but if we want to go through them one by one, we can. I'm not sure that we need to do that, but it's up to everybody else.
Number 8, there is Japanese knotweed in the area.
Yep.
Quite a bit. Some of the water quality concerns, there's the, that little pond that's right next to Alamulas or whatever it is now.
Mhm.
At the
And,
mill, you mean?
I'm sorry?
At the mill, or,
Well, just up from the mill, right next to Route 4.
oh, okay.
But, you know, the stream right in that area is also a area of concern.
As a planning board, we don't have any proposed community projects or regional projects or plans that we're aware of right in that intersection area.
Just a note of interest. Last time this took place, 20 years ago, or whenever it was that they were trying to do it, there was a subdivision that was going in off of 152 in accessing through Nottingham into Northwood. if you're heading up towards there on the left.
Okay.
There's been a surveying crew that's been motivating through that area quite a bit. I don't know if they're resurrecting it again because this is happening or what, I don't know.
And you think that that's in Northwood
The
predominantly?
way it was designed last time, it went through Nottingham to get to North. That, there's a little road that kind of goes, that runs pretty much along the line of Nottingham and Northwood, and that's how they were getting in there to do that. I'm just saying, there's been a lot of surveying activity that is not DOT.
I know there's members of the Conservation Commission here that probably have some information. Go ahead, Sue.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I just want to say that that stream that runs across, what's that?
Cooper Hill Road.
Cooper Hill, and then comes under Route 4 is the North River. And it is a headwater of the North River, so, which is also part of the Lamprey River watershed. Where we are protecting in town now to protect even first water streams. It might be second or third order at that place, at that point. We need to be aggressive about making sure things are done properly.
And did you guys receive a letter? Do you know?
I don't know,
Did you receive a letter from the DOT?
I didn't pick one up for it.
Okay.
I can give you.
This-
Okay,
The letter was originally dated April 18th, so it may have been a little while ago that it was picked up.
you guys can have that, remember.
According to the DOT presentations on the project, they're not gonna interfere with any of the river aspects of things. They don't wanna get into it, they're not replacing the culvert or anything.
What about water runoff and salt runoff and things like that?
No, I'm not DOT, I'm just saying. Their presentation indicated that they, that was not going to be a problem. I don't know what I'm saying, I'm just saying that that's what they were saying.
Now, they indicate an advertising date of December 12th, 2028.
There's a culvert in this area.
Yeah.
Right here.
Where? So there's one here,
Over there, okay.
there's one there, and then there's another one that's down here. So it's not directly at that intersection, but it's within, well, probably 150 feet.
The crossroad that they're planning is gonna go to the right of all of those buildings that are there.
So they're moving where the intersection currently is, moving it
That-
further
that's
east
what
on
they're
Yeah,
the.
designing.
They're gonna
Yeah.
tee it up and move it further to the east.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll all be in Nottingham.
Okay.
They're gonna kind of sweep it up there.
Not real sure why they sent this picture along with it.
Yeah, they don't.
That's all that is the present intersection.
And so they're planning on putting the road to the north of Route 4, like in between that existing building in the corner and the North River?
I don't think they're realigning the road to the north.
It's just the one to the south.
Cooper Hill, they're not realigning that,
Yeah,
or are they?
there's gonna be a crossroad here.
Yep.
Okay, and so this end of Cooper Hill Road, or this end here is Northwood end. They're gonna put in
Oh, they are gonna come on
Yeah.
that side, oh.
over here.
So that seems like it's
Which
awful
means
close to
that
the
that's
North
going
River.
to impact right where the mill is.
Well,
I
the
mean,
town of Nottingham is hoping that they're gonna replace that culvert at the mill. They're not gonna do that. They're not planning to do that. They're coming in and they're gonna tee onto Cooper Hill Road. You take the left and go to the businesses, or you taking right and go up the hill.
Well, they
The wider
will,
road are we talking? No. According to their plans, it doesn't mess with the river, but
I'm,
Well, if you go to the,
No, I'm,
They will have public information meetings, so I'm
Yeah.
sure prior.
they've had one in Nottingham, one in Northwood.
Okay, well, let's move on to our presentation. Is that okay? Yep. Move along.
Can we table our response to
Yeah.
this letter
Yeah.
until, okay, great.
I will second tabling it, in case we need to do it formally.
Yeah, I don't know, do we need a formal vote to table
No,
it?
we do not.
Okay.
Okay.
We can't vote
The
it.
minutes will reflect it. Okay, well, are you ready to go? We'd be happy to
I'm
get
not
an,
ready to go.
okay.
My computer's really slow, I'm looking at one screen, there's another screen up there, and I can't pull up the maps. So if somebody doesn't mind, with a laptop doesn't mind printing out, we can give that a try.
I like the picture up there versus the picture you have.
I like my turkey tail mushroom, but there's no map on my computer either, so. Dear.
Is that your screen though?
That's my main, but I'm looking at my map loading and it's not the mushroom, so. My computer is being feisty. Apologize. Okay, we don't have this kind of connection, so I'm gonna have to go for a different connection.
Yes,
I have also a spin part.
okay.
One or something on the computer.
Oh, wow. Nice and fast. This is a PC or Mac?
PC.
And this is.
Yeah, they have DOT has a design for an intersection, a multi-lane intersection, and a one-lane roundabout.
Two separate proposed designs, you mean? Or,
They're just in the
They're
design
all
phase
things.
at the moment,
I see, okay.
so.
When did they present
Great.
those publicly?
where
Was this
did they-
recently? When?
I'm just
When did
thinking
they?
Oh, last month,
Oh, okay,
Northwood
That little
and
one that they
Nottingham,
just put in
both had
Rochester
sections.
is.
gotcha.
The one here was much better, they, after they presented to the select board, they went into the kitchen, answered a ton of questions. So since there's four things. Intersection, a souped up intersection, and then the new relocated intersection with a traffic lights and everything, and then a roundabout. I provided pictures of a lot of telephone poles that are in the way when you're sitting there at those intersections.
Obscuring the view of oncoming traffic, you mean?
Yeah, you
Gotcha.
you can't see the lane coming down the hill on one side, and on the other side, the welcome to Northwood sign is blocking your view of the people coming up, so.
Not to mention if there's lights right at the bottom of that hill, as soon as it's a little bit icy, somebody's going sliding right through that.
At those speeds, yeah, it's 55, isn't it?
Yeah.
45 minimum.
Yeah, 55.
And they've slowed it down because the turn lane is no longer gonna be there. So
Yeah.
now the traffic is backing up to the lights at 43. There's a lot of things that are quote unquote bad at that intersection. But I think the things that we brought up were things that they looked at and said, well, we can move some telephone poles, we can, move some plants and some signs and maybe straighten out the intersection itself a little bit.
Do it once a day to go grocery shopping, but I've never really had a concern, too much of a
Yeah,
concern.
well,
Not one that would talk for a whole roundabout, that's
yeah, it's not
not horrible.
It's not an intersection that has had a lot of negative activity, but the negative activity that exists apparently is bad enough that
Yeah.
I think they've had 2 accidents there. One fatal in the last 40 years, I think it was. And 4, there's been a lot of accidents, but not, I don't know how they put the severity of it, but. Anyway,
Did they mention like a particular problem they were trying to correct?
Well, it's the skew. The skew angle is a real big issue.
The way 152 hits it, like they want to bring it more in a T.
Also, the grading is an issue, both for braking and acceleration for larger vehicles. Coming out of 152, trying to get onto Route 4, because you have that hill right there.
Mm-hmm. Is
Now,
there much they
granted,
can do about that? Can they do much about?
Move the intersection.
What's that?
Not about the grading. They move the intersection to a flatter spot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Without taking a house? That would be-
No.
So,
they've already taken the house.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, they have?
Is that why, is that why they're all
20 years
abandoned?
ago.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, all these ones are here, like abandoned, these ones at this point.
I can't see.
These houses here are all just sitting there. They seem abandoned, yeah,
What about the other side?
because someone's living there.
and the house that's right behind it, I believe, was also taken.
I will say I've lived here for only 4 years and someone found the guy's brick wall at least twice in the past 4 years. Yeah,
So like coming down this
yeah,
way.
coming down, they plow right into his brick wall
How
right
can
here.
you not make that the softest right turn?
They're probably leaving the saloon that prevail. Anyways,
Speed.
yeah, speed, whatever.
Nice.
Because a lot of times that's what they like to take out of those sort of slip, turns. They don't really, they want more controlled turning movements.
Feeling confident now?
I think I'm
All right.
okay prepared. I'm not used to using the mouse pad on the laptop, so pardon me for being a little bit awkward, but this is a new mapping series that we had Stratford Regional Planning Commission do for us. It's to complement our new river management plan, which will be coming up shortly. We will be getting copies. We focused on the things that we review when we do project reviews and when we're looking at land protection projects. So we're focused on the shoreland, the protected shoreland, where our jurisdiction ends, floodplains, looking at different views between topographic views of the topographic views versus this kind of grayscale versus satellite views, so that we can get a deeper understanding, because unlike you folks, when you review projects, you can do we cannot legally. So we're relying on the application and what we can see on the computer to do our project reviews. So this is a really powerful program, and it's also very user-friendly. If you've ever tried to use Granite, you know that you basically need to take a class on how to use it because it's so complicated and it's not intuitive at all. But we tried to make this as user-friendly as possible. And basically, there's a couple of key things that you need to learn to start. These are the map layers. And if you click on that, you can see municipalities, roads, those are all kind of default things so you can orient yourself. But we can have all roads, the Shoreline Water Quality Protection Act jurisdiction, FEMA flood zones, in-stream flow site for testing so we can know where the nearest water gauge is. Public access sites, contamination sites, which has come in very handy, particularly in Raymond. There's a massive warehouse being planned up there and half of it's on contaminated sites. Very helpful to know that when you're reviewing. Let's see. Land use, we've got the wildlife habitat tiers from the wildlife action plan. We've got the habitat types, which is handy, wetlands, water bodies, conservation lands. We've had a couple of projects that were smack dab in the middle of conservation land and they wanted to drain it, ruining the values of all the adjacent conservation lands. So we've got these different layers. And for example, we can put the designated river corridors on here. And as you get closer, you can see the river corridors. It's a 1/4 mile from the if you get closer, there you go, that kind of works. And if you want to get rid of this, you just click on it and it goes away, I think. There you go. So you can make that go away. So you've got the street, the river corridors, and I think I'm pulling it in a little bit. The more detail that you ask for, the more stuff will show up. Maybe I should just go to this plus or minus area. So you can see stuff starting to add in and pile up. So if anyone would like to give me their home or a project that you're reviewing, we would look at things more carefully that way.
Well, if you just go up a little bit, we can look at the DOT intersection.
Okay? That's the additional area, so if any part of the project hits that, we review it. So the bridge on 152, we reviewed 2 years ago, I believe, maybe last year. But I do remember, and I just drove over, like, oh yeah, I remember this bridge. DOT sent us the information about how they're going to protect the coming in of invasives, the erosion controls, all that other stuff. So we reviewed, we sent our comments, and we obviously sent them to you as well.
Okay.
But let's see, let's just look up 139 Stage Road. Did I spell everything right? No?
It's okay.
But it's got it, just like
It's
it.
okay. It's good.
Oh, okay, there.
AI.
And then you'll zoom right in there, which is really handy, so you can see the site. And if you want to see whether this is anywhere near a flood zone, because we are in the river corridor,
This will be interesting.
come on, map layers.
It's down on the bottom.
It's interesting, it's down there. There we go, all right. Let's see. FEMA flood zones. I could be working this a lot faster if I had a mouse, I'm sorry.
If you need,
FEMA, there we go. Click
you wanna try
that.
one?
Okay, so the pink zone on the, if you go over to the, oh great, this is going into,
This goes in the USB push, you just upload it somewhere.
thank you. Make it very nice. I need to make this a little bit smaller so I can get the. Okay, I'm sorry, this is a new computer and I'm not used to everything, but this is the spot here is 139 Stage Road, so this is Town Hall. This is within the river corridor of the North River, and we have reviewed a couple of projects. I think we did the lumber yard across the street several years ago. They wanted to put a new bridge in there kind of thing. But we can also, so those are the layers, but we can also change the view. Internet gallery. So if we want to get a satellite imagery view of this area, we can do that immediately, which is pretty neat and spiffy. The Granite program is challenging to do that. We can also use this little neat measuring tool here. So if you want to get the distance between Dane School and here, oh, sorry, the unit has to be identified. Zoom to measurement unit. We asked for, come on. You can get it in feet, yards, miles, meters, and if you use this aerial tool, you can get it in square feet, acres, hectares, which is also pretty interesting. So that you can, if you have a project, you can click and click and click and get the area that you're talking about. I can also get out of here and get back to the grayscale view, which is here. Let's see, our main goal, as I say, was for project review, ease of project review, and also for land protection projects, because we have money in the bank to spend on that. So we look at what the applicant is asking, but we also use this map and say, yeah, it's cut surrounded by conservation land, or it's all wetlands, that kind of thing. The level of detail starts out fairly broad with just naming the rivers in our watershed and the town boundaries, but if you go zooming in, you start getting the smaller roads, you can start getting sites, you can start getting habitat kinds of things, depending on the scale that you go. So sometimes when you're looking for a canoe launch, what you might see is that it doesn't exist, but if you keep zooming in the town of Newmarket, for example, showing up, and it will tell you whether it's a kayak launch or if it's just a picnic. So we try to do that. We put the layers in the order of the frequency that we use, so it might not make sense to you that we have history at the very bottom and flood zones at the top, kind of thing. But we set it up for our use, and nobody else was giving us any input, so we just went with what was most useful to us. If you're looking for this, you can certainly flag it as a favorite on your own computer, but it's always available at www.lampreyriver.org. On the homepage, there's a section, little blurb talking about our new management plan, and there's a direct link to this map on our lampreyriver.org homepage. Let's see. We currently have a bug that is concerning, and we've reported it to Stratford Regional Planning, and hopefully they'll work on it when they get back from their vacation or their work, whatever. But the shoreline protection zone in the upper watershed is not accurate. In some cases, it's using the thread of the stream to determine the protected shoreland, which does not work in Newmarket at all. For example, we had a project at the wastewater treatment plant and the shoreland ended in the water. No, this isn't right. And we've also been having trouble with some of the impoundments, so particularly Lake, Northwood Meadows, they're showing up as the thread of the stream, so even though it's an impoundment over 10 acres, it's not showing up as being qualifying for the Shoreline Water Quality Protection Act, which would be yet another layer of protection and review and another permit for the shoreline. So that's a known bug. I did request, and we had it when I said go, but we have parcels. There's under the layers, you can pull up parcels. So based on your tax maps, you can pull up the parcel, even though it doesn't have an address like 140 Stage Road. You could pull up that tax parcel and compare notes with what you need to do. This little symbol here is the compass of north, but sometimes when we're reviewing projects, the paperwork is all skewed because it makes more sense to do it that way. So you can do that by left clicking, I think it is, right clicking. There you go. You can turn it around. So you can make it fit the paperwork that you're doing, so you don't have to keep twisting your head. When you want to go back to north, you just hit that, and it will take you back to north orientation, which is kind of handy. I thought just a minor gripe that we have is that there's a fix for that. So I'm very pleased with that one. If you were to click on, I'm going to back out a little bit here. And if you need water quality protection or in-stream flow information, so where's Nottingham? If you were to click on that, let's close that. Let's get the layers of water quality. Water quality monitoring stations and in-stream flow sites. So we've got some more dots, and on this, the key is for some reason off on this computer, but I can't see it on mine either. But these dots represent either water quality test sites or in-stream flow sites. And if you were to hit on, for example, There's Nottingham. This one right in the middle of the North River. There's 10 bits of data that you can get on this. This is the ArcGIS symbol thing, but if you were to go to on the 10, let's see, where is the next one? That's a DOT road. Water Street, designated river, rivers and streams. Come on. No, let me try it out in Deerfield. So this is a stream order one of two pages. If you go to the next one, it's also a National Historic Register of Places. Why am I having such bad luck here? Let's see, how about in Epping? That's one. Stream order. I'm sorry, normally this would work. I've got the water quality and in-stream flow sites highlighted. When you click on it, it should take you to our website and you can get, depending on the kind of data it has, it will tell you we've been collecting data for 3 years, 10 years, 20 years, and you can actually pull up the data if it's available. So if you're having water quality problems, you could potentially click on that site and say, we've got a bacterial problem, we have a heavy metal problem. Down in Newmarket, I do know there's a big problem down there at Shandon Park. There's a road, this is quite a good one. I don't even have the historic places marked. Oh, I do. That's probably why my problem. All right, take that away. Okay. Here. Okay, so if you scroll down, click here for more information. It'll take us to our website, and you can ask request for water quality results, and it will take you to Shandon Park, which has a massive human fecal bacteria problem. Oh, joy. But thankfully, we were not aware of any big problems in Nottingham. Newmarket is the big one right now, and they're actively trying to determine the exact source of it. They're lining their sewers, they're sealing a lot of things, but it's the worst contamination in the river at the most popular canoe launch, which is a problem. And then you can just go back here. Do you have questions? I know this is a very quick thing, but I strongly encourage you to just go to lampreyriver.org, click on the main maps, and play with it. The more you play with it, you'll realize that there's a lot to it, and we've tried to be as user-friendly as possible. If you have questions, you can always email me. She has my email at lampreyriver.org. It will come to me. I will do my best to answer it for you.
Just a quick question. I'm noticing on there that your, the Doluth Dam, it looks like it's kind of the end of the stuff on the southern part of Nottingham there,
Okay?
right into Pawtuckaway Lake. And I'm just curious about why Pawtuckaway Lake itself doesn't qualify.
That's one of those glitches that I was talking about. When the full watershed was designated under the New Hampshire Rivers Management Protection Program, part of that was that several towns upstream wanted to be exempt from shoreline protection for the lower order streams. So if you've got this little tiny stream, it's exempt from the full shoreland review process. Anything third class or third class, order, thank you, third order and above, is not exempt, but a lot of these little streams and rivulets on the far end of the Lamprey River up in Candia, it's just, it's this big. So it's exempt in a lot of cases. And Boo-Boo, Pawtuckaway Lake is definitely not exempt. Don't know why. But this is strictly the river corridor, but because Pawtuckaway Lake is an impoundment, it qualifies for shoreline water quality protection. And we've had 2 permits in the last 2 months, I think, expanding houses on Pawtuckaway Lake. So that's a glitch that we know about, and we're hoping please fix it. So.
I have a question.
Sure.
So I get a lot of calls in the land use office for potential buyers of properties. I'm wondering if they can build on it. Are there wetlands, things like that? Would this work if I just clicked on wetlands and typed in their address?
Yes. Yep. So if you have an address here, let's get rid of the monitoring sites for the time being. But let's put up FEMA. So we've got 2 colors here, actually. The pink is the 100-year flood and the green year flood. So that's a question that people, as far as wetlands go, yes, we can have those. And again, if you zoom in, more data shows up.
Mm-hmm.
As far as habitat tiers for the there we go. They start showing up. So the pink areas, I believe, are the ones that we really want to protect. So they're there too. If you want to, I know in granite, sometimes it's got this very specific order. It wants to put this on top of this, on top of this, on top of this. But you can move it. If you want this to be the most important thing, just move it up. Move up to top. Let's move it to the top. Okay, so that's clearly bold now, but you can still see the river corridors going through it. But yeah, I've taken class after class with granite, and I just am completely lost. It's just mind. But this I find is a lot easier because you can customize it, and you can make it as complicated or as simple as you want. This is the working map, but we also have individual maps if you just want a sort of a snapshot in time view of, for example, this is conservation land. The red ones are areas that the Lamprey River Advisory Committee has contributed towards. Let's see, where's this over? There we go. Let's see, how about, one thing that was interesting to me was contaminated sites. It's a lot of contaminated sites in the watershed. The red ones are active and the yellow ones are closed. If you were to click on this on the main map, it would give you information about why it's a problem. But this is just a snapshot. So you can only look at one piece of information, reset, it's all formatted. But if you were to go to this one plain map, let's get rid of the layers, or rivers, here's also let's make them all go away. Okay, so contaminated sites. Town labels. Is this Nottingham?
No.
Can't tell.
No, it's
Okay,
Yeah,
this one?
there you
yeah.
So this red one here. Click here for more information. And it takes you to the DES website. So you can, if there's a project nearby, you can say, we really don't want this area to be disturbed because it could be releasing contaminants. It doesn't say what it's contaminated in as a rule, but you can get as much information there as possible, which is kind of handy Again, we had that big, huge warehouse in Raymond, and they're trying to take contaminated land as mitigation land. It's a disaster. But, but there it is. So anyway, I don't mean to take up all your time. I hope that you will go home and play with it, look up your own address, see if you're near a flood zone, see if there's any conservation land, see if it's true to what you know. And if this is helpful to you, we feel really glad about that because this has already been very, very helpful to us with our project reviews.
Yeah, looks like a strong tool.
Is the baseline data from Granite?
It's coming from several sources, and if you want more information about that, you can go to the introduction, and Stratford Regional Planning put the sites for their sources of information, their caveats as to, please don't use this in place of engineering plans, kinds of things, but they tried to provide, they consulted multiple sources. I know Granite's one, DES is one, USGS is another data layer that there's all sorts of data layers in here. But it took him almost 2 years to get this finalized for us. So it's been in the works for a long time.
How often is it updated?
We hope to update it every year with some minor updates, updating the conservation land. Some of it will be automatic if it's going to Granite. For example, some of the South properties or Bear Paw properties probably should be updated just automatically, but ours we'll have to do ourselves because, our ability to update is going to be somewhat limited. Probably, we are in the crosshairs of DOGE, and the National Park Service budget has not been finalized, but it looks like they're looking at a 40% cut. So we traditionally have been funded through the National Wild Scenic River System, and we've had some money to play with to build things like this and to do a management plan. I'm not sure if we will be funded in the near future. It looked in February when they tried to kill all of the federal grants, which were approved by Congress. It looked at the time like we would lose it immediately, but then DOGE got sued and they had to restore all these federal grants. So we were kind of hoping that we would be viable until the end of April 2026 when our 5-year cooperative grant ends. But everybody is uncertain as to what's going on right now. So the Stratford Regional Planning Commission promised us that this will be on their server. It will be up and active in the near future without further financial inputs from us. But as far as upgrading or updating our conservation land that we participated in, might not happen. So we've done the best that we can to make it as durable as possible, and the information that you see on there should be up to date. So if the contamination site has now been cleaned, it should go from red to yellow.
Great, thank you. Thank you
You're
very
very
much.
welcome. I hope this proves useful to you. Please let me play with it and let me know how you like it. If there's other thing or not true to life, that's maybe one of those things we can upgrade before we lose. It won't happen, but.
Well, it's very impressive.
Thank you. I'm not a math person, but I became one working through this project, and we had so many revisions, and this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this has to be fixed, and we thought we had it go for final, and we lost all of our shoreline, protected shoreline around Pawtucket Lake and Meadows Pond. So anyway, here's a little cheat sheet that I created. There's full instructions on here, but I gave you the basic things. If you can work the layers and you can work the map type, you'll pretty much should be able to figure it out. If you use a computer at all, you should be able to figure it out without too much problem, I hope. Again, let me know if you have complaints, let me know.
Great, thanks again.
Thank you.
You're very
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your meeting time.
Yeah.
This is the one.
I can give back everybody their toys.
Here's your password, and I'll try to be as quiet and cleaning up as possible.
Well, we can move on. We do have a public hearing, but the applicant has requested that it be continued to the June 25th meeting. But just in case there's any public that wanted to provide any input, this is the time set for that public hearing. Anyone interested in talking about case 2506 SUB Ernstoff at 35 Deerfield Road? Anybody want to talk about that? Last time, we'll close the public hearing and we'll look to a motion to continue this until Wednesday, June 25th at 6:30.
I'll motion that we continue case number 25-006 sub Ernstoff, 35 Deerfield Road to Wednesday, June 25th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m.
Any second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion about it? All those in favor, and aye.
All right.
Those opposed? Unopposed? You know, I totally forgot to have everybody introduce themselves. Sorry, I'm new to this chairman piece. And I should have sat Skip for Chris.
Okay. I'm positive.
So this is the first time you'd vote, which, yeah, appreciate that positive vote on that motion.
Want me to start off?
What do you want to do?
Well, I don't know, I introduced myself.
Go ahead. Why don't you go ahead and introduce, we'll go around the room. We're a little late on that, but that's just, we've been moving things around on the agenda, so we're okay.
Skip Severn's alternate.
Danny Arsenal, member.
Drew Stevens, Vice Chair.
Dirk Rotenheis, Chair.
Glenn Griswold, member.
Adam Ryan, member.
Larry, SRBC.
All right. I'd like to see Skip for Chris
Okay.
for this meeting, so Skip's an alternate, and now would be a full voting member. Meeting over? So, yeah, Alana, they did indicate that they were going to provide some more information prior to coming in.
For the Deerfield?
Yes.
Yes, they will.
Okay.
So they wanted more time to respond to the CMA engineering review comments.
Yeah, it seemed like it. They probably want to respond
They were
and then
substantially
revise whatever their plans were and resubmit those. Yeah, they had quite a few comments there. All right, well, this is also, next on the agenda is public comment. This is a time when comments can be made by the public. We do invite public to these meetings. They're more than welcome. This would be a time when you can bring up specific things, questions, but it would not be pertaining to any current application in front of the board. But if you have questions of land use or planning or anything relative to those, we're welcome to hear those at this time. We'll do that every meeting. There'll be an opportunity to have public comment. And but seeing that there's no more public left, we'll move on. Next would be approval of the minutes. We do have some minutes from May 14th. They're all in your packet. Just go around. If anyone had any comments to them, I just breezed through them. I didn't have any comment, but if there are other comments, just let me know and we'll take care of them. Any comments? If not, suggest a motion be made to accept the minutes.
Take advantage of your full membership right now.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of May 14th.
Motion and a second. Anywhere?
Second that motion.
Second by Drew. Any discussion? None? Those in favor indicate aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Congratulations, Skip. Your first motion is approved.
Unanimously.
Batting 1,000.
So be careful.
All right, and at this point, I'll go around the room here. I'll start with Blair, just for any updates you might have for the board. And then I'll go around the room. And,
Things. One, as you all know, in beginning of May, we found out that we received another grant for another master plan chapter for the natural resource medical chapter in natural resources input. So SRPC and some town staff met with people from PrEP to discuss the grant award contract, and so we're going to be working on getting that sorted out, getting everything signed. It's an agreement with the town. Town has to agree to accept the money, and then they have to contract with SRPC. So it's got to make a couple stops before I can actually really get started. But just because we're working on the housing chapter together, I've kind of already begun and trying to find ways to sort of mesh the two, to save on efforts and make sure that we're getting information at the same time. So that's just a quick update on that.
Blair, you mentioned meshing. Is that gonna be difficult because there's two pots of money?
Well, I mean, like, we just released a survey, so that was gonna be one of the other things that I talked about. But we just released a survey. In an ideal world, we would have asked questions for both, right? Simply because so that didn't happen because we were too far along. The housing plan didn't get going. That didn't happen, but there might be other opportunities, like if we do a public workshop or something like that, or some other type of thing. I don't think it's a problem. I don't, because I can tell which work I'm doing for which project and just sort of separate out the hours. I don't think there's any problem with that.
Okay.
I'll double check again, but I think as long as it's clearly distinctly for one project or the other, the lines aren't too blurred. I think we're fine. Yeah. So that was going to be the other update as far as the gas prices. On the housing side of things, I worked with, this is one of the 4 engagement pieces that the group has decided to do. They're doing a survey, they're going to do some interviews with some key informed people, do a public workshop, and then a public forum where we'll present the findings and everything and recommendations to the planning, your board. So that'll be like the 4th and final one. And the survey was the first one we worked on. We had the larger group of 10, 11 people break off into groups, subgroups of like 3 or 4 or 5 to help me sort of move things along. A smaller, more nimble group meeting over Zoom. So the survey team went back and forth over email and stuff and had some recommendations and suggestions on edits and stuff. And so at the end of the day, we put together a final survey on housing. It's kind of high level. It's more of a visioning survey for housing, but it's out there. It's been released. So if you haven't already seen it, I think Alana circulated it. Yep. So you probably all saw it, but it's out there. I encourage you to take it, but then I encourage you to share as well. Whether it's just inside your own household or just a small network of people. Getting a good number of responses is helpful. We tend to see a lot of the same people respond. They tend to skew older, right? So if there's any way you can get out there to kind of dig deeper into the community and make sure that we try to get people that might not normally be a part of these things. Because a survey is probably the lowest, it's kind of the easiest bar, right? I mean, you can do it at home. All the other stuff is pretty much in person and you have to participate. So this is a great opportunity for people that aren't as comfortable or confident to participate. So yeah, if you can share that out there.
And it doesn't take too much time.
It doesn't. There's, one thing about this one is it does have a few more narrative type answers. These surveys aren't scientific because you're not really making an effort to make sure you get a good cross-section of the community, you get equal representation, stuff like that. It's just whoever finds it and decides to take it. So you can't put a lot of value in the data that comes back. But if you get good narrative, you can pull things out of that. And you might not have thought of certain things or seen things a certain way. So that's a really helpful way. That's why it's more of a visioning survey. So there's a few more of those questions than you might normally see. It's only 15 total. The SurveyMonkey algorithm says it should take you 7 minutes to finish. So answer what you can, but certainly circulate it and make sure you take it yourself. So those are two things with the two master plan chapters that I'm working on. I think there was one other thing I wanted to find out, but I'm kind of drawing a blank at the moment. So I'll just leave it there for now and to reserve my right.
We can come back to you.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
You have anything? What?
There was a SRPC commissioners meeting on May 10th. I was not able to attend because of technical problems. So I watched it afterwards. Not a lot to report there. That impacts us, but lots of interesting things going on in the region.
Okay. I was just going to dovetail onto Blair's comments about the master plan. I think you covered it pretty well, but the subcommittee is meeting tomorrow evening, assuming here in this room, and public is welcome. So we'll be going over the master plan as a whole, not just the specific chapters that we are working on right now. So we'll just take a holistic look at where the master plan is going to go into the future. So that'll be tomorrow night at 6 o'clock.
Only small thing I wanted to add in to the master plan stuff and the grant, the PREPA grant that was awarded, is that that grant award will be brought up at the next select board meeting on June 2nd to have a public hearing to accept the grant officially by the town. So that'll be coming up June 2nd at, well, I don't think my time in here is right, whenever the select board meets. And that's it for me.
Okay. Danny, anything?
No updates.
Skip?
Nothing.
Okay. Allow?
Just that one case we have coming up June 11th. Actually, there is a road layout meeting that the applicant has also petitioned the select board for, and that will be at 6 o'clock in the same room right before our meeting. So if people want to come early to see how that turns out, might be smart to do that.
Great, thank you.
That was a good comment. So Blair, what is this? Do you have a clue as to what this means, the road layout and the selectmen doing something with it?
In short, no. But what I have picked up through conversations with the town is that it's like the town has accepted the road, but it was never laid out. It was never shown anywhere.
Correct.
So the thing that you all reviewed when it came in as part of a preliminary consultation, that's going to basically be it. It's that 25-foot wide
Mm-hmm.
layout.
Okay.
So
So,
because they're not going to survey it, so it won't be, you won't have places in space to show it. It's not, that road isn't shown anywhere on any map. So this is like, putting it for the first time on a piece of paper. And it's just sort of like getting everybody to agree on that. Does that mean that every problem is going to be solved by the way this is happening?
Okay.
Probably not, but it's a starting point, is sort of the way I understand it.
do we envision that that's the way that's gonna work for all of those roads? That somebody's gonna come in with a layout? All of the lake roads that
That's kind of what has to happen
has to happen for what?
legally.
For what? I mean.
You gotta know where your road, where your land ends and the road begins.
I understand that.
For them to do any land transfers, they'll need to
Well,
come
but
up
that,
with
that already exists. They're out there, all that exists out there. What doesn't exist is where the road physically is. So the deeds are gonna, in most cases, show land that is now a road that they didn't presently, that they didn't, at the time of the deed, didn't own, didn't have, right? The owner of the road is the one that had the whole parcel that then split it up. So, I mean, this is all crap that we, that we went through realistically, because the roads are owned by various people. So the only thing that really has to happen is that I guess, I mean, from the legal standpoint, is all of these people have to come in and, I guess, get their lots surveyed or something. I don't know. It's not gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
No, I know what you're saying. I'm just coming at it, putting my surveyor hat on.
Yeah.
The way that the town approached it, where they accepted them with warrant articles based on longstanding use and maintenance, created those roads as town roads. So now, anytime anybody wants to do anything on those roads, they're going, those roads are. So will they need to get surveyed? Yeah.
Isn't 25 feet pretty small for it, right?
25 is very small for a right of way.
Yeah.
That doesn't allow for grading off to the sides. It doesn't allow for drainage. It doesn't allow for clearing.
I mean, you're traveling.
You're traveling
At that rate of speed are usually 12 feet.
but you're, again, my surveyor hat on, the National Fire Prevention Agency, NFPA, states that for adequate fire access, it needs to be 20 feet wide and 13 and a half feet high, cleared. 25 feet does not give you a 3-to-1 slope off of the edge of the gravel.
It only gives you the 6 inches for the lines in the middle.
Exactly.
They're not texting driving that road.
Or anybody passing them going that direction.
Right.
No, it's.
From an engineering and surveying perspective, a 25-foot right-of-way is ludicrous.
but their claim is, for the last 60 years, it's been that way, and it's been fine. Well, okay,
But
but now.
how do you prove it?
Well, I guess no accidents. I don't know. Again,
Yeah, no,
this is totally bizarre. It's relatively easy down there on those roads, and that's what they did. And not saying it's right or wrong, it's just, I don't know how we go forward with this. I don't,
part of the thing.
it doesn't
Sorry.
seem like this is the plan unless everybody else is gonna be going through the same thing. And if everyone else is going through the same thing, then what is it? How does the plan become something that somebody can look at and determine that this is the way we're gonna go forward? Typically, the planning board is the one, I think, that looks at that. And this is going before the selectmen, who basically gave them 18 feet as a width anyway. And apparently now it's 25, but again, I don't know. It's confusing me big time. I don't understand how the town goes forward on this.
So part of the way that roads were originally created was that you had to go to either town meeting or to the select board to ask for a layout. And they would have a public hearing, say, we're going to meet at Jones's house a month from now, and we're going to walk and lay out the road. And typically they would, take a look, they would measure between stone walls or, things of that nature. So that's kind of been codified that in order to have a layout accepted to determine exactly where a right of way is, you have to go to the select board.
Well, in the old days, that's the way it was, because it wasn't a planning board.
Right.
Now it's a planning board.
But we
I
also
don't disagree.
The planning board does not have the jurisdiction either to accept roads. So we can approve them through the planning process, but for them to become just like a new subdivision for that road to become a town road, it has to get accepted at the select board level.
But is that what this is to identify the fact that there's a road that needs to be accepted?
Yes.
And
Yep.
if that's the case, isn't that done by the people?
So part of
That's the way we typically do it.
part of
The
the,
legislative piece has been done.
right,
The road,
with the warrant
Acceptance.
article.
this is now a technical piece that is more on, the board is like, board.
The select board has no concerns like we do, they must. I think. You can't be the
I
only
don't
one
know.
that has a concern.
Our representative is not here tonight.
Yeah, I don't really have it.
Yeah, I mean, like the objections at this point might be whether the road is here or here. It's not, do we do this at all? I think that issue's already been
There-
addressed.
Right.
So, I don't know what your rights are as individuals to this point, but I'm sure you can.
I don't think there's much to object to. He owns both sides of the road. Wherever he says the road is, that's what it is. It seems to me, however, that if this is the layout of the road, then he should be providing deed for that road to the town. And then, at least then, things start to clean themselves up. But according to the last meeting we had with them, the surveyor said there was no need to do that.
No need for a deed.
No need to transfer the road over to the town. We do it by deed or anything else, deed's a common way, but.
Because the warrant article was acknowledgement of the fact that because the town has been maintaining it, that maintenance is de facto acceptance of it as a town road.
I'm not talking acceptance. I'm talking, where the heck is it?
Nope,
Because
and I
now, once they
understand.
start subdividing, realistically,
Mhm.
we have to ensure that half of each one of those, that each one of the lots created now has to release half of that, the frontage, half of the road frontage, with frontage, to the town. And that has to go through that process for every single lot that's created.
Don't we as a planning board though have the, when they start putting the houses on there, the right to say they have to make the road capable for handling that many houses in order to build?
Part of the subdivision thing.
Right.
But that's not deeding half of the roadway width to the town.
Yeah.
We do that, a lot of the town roads that we have are not really town-owned roads. Just because it's a town road doesn't mean it's town-owned.
That's actually fairly common, that most roads
Yeah.
are just easements.
Absolutely.
And, as far as the ownership of the strip of land, I would say probably 80% of the roads in the state are easements.
Correct.
Um,
Don't have a problem
So-
with that. It's just another to go through
Mhm.
in an area where the of that road would end all of that for us.
But it might
Don't disagree.
likely just be an easement. And continue to be a 25-foot
Either
easement.
way.
Yeah.
But if by laying out the road, he deeded it to the town, then we don't have to do the easement thing.
Yeah.
But that's the way I kind of look at it, and I don't know that that's right or not, but it's, these particular roads these particular roads right now all have owners associated with them that are not owners that can raise their hand and say, yes, I own the road. They're all private roads. They're all were large parcels of property that then somebody basically on a napkin said, let's do this. And there are owners. Some of these roads are so far back that there's no way to find the owners. But these I think we do have that capability. That's all.
Okay.
So I just want to ask, so Ryan, the way I understood your question was, can the town make a person who building permit on the new lots bring the road up to a certain standard?
Correct.
We can do that?
We can as a subdivision, yeah. But not as a,
Not for a
not
building
as a
permit.
building permit.
But if, okay, Kevin comes in and gets a subdivision, he creates 2 lots. And then the 2 people come in and get a building permit. The town can make them bring the section of road in front of their house up to a certain standard
We can make a condition of approval of the subdivision,
of his 2-lot subdivision,
Mhm.
but the
Sure.
road's already there.
so
It's not in the condition that, to a town standard road, to a subdivision road, doesn't meet
Why
our
it can't be,
subdivisions.
because it will never have 50 foot. But I don't understand how you do. It's already now the town's responsibility to condition the road. So how can you make that person bring it up to standard?
I did
It's already you've already accepted it in its as-is condition.
And
That's how I understood, that's what I understand, oh,
no,
town warrant
and that's where I'm
accepted.
going with this.
Right,
Primarily, is it stuff off our chests.
but I don't,
Yeah,
you're saying just have that, what would be the trigger? I mean,
the subdivision application.
Kevin's 2-lot subdivision for frontage, right? He's not creating any road.
Well, we can't talk about
Sorry.
specific applications that are in
Okay,
front of the
fair
board
enough.
at the moment.
But an application for a subdivision, like a subdivision can't happen without the road existing.
Public road existing.
Right, class 5.
Right.
Which it is right now because it's been accepted.
Correct.
So why, but it's been accepted and as is conditioned, so what jurisdiction, I don't,
And the percentage of lots that he's creating compared to the ones that are being served, that might be served in this case, is a very small percentage.
And so what a board could do is request or require that they provide a wider frontage. So along their frontage, it's 25 feet, we have this easement, so we need 50 feet for the road. We need another 12 and a half feet over here. So we could certainly request the landowner provide that easement.
Yeah.
For the
In
future road.
case the road needs to be done later on, that can happen, yeah.
but what's the town's, enforcement on that? I mean, does
Find it once in a look.
yeah, I'm trying to remember exactly where it was.
Yeah, and the enforcement's tough on that one. I think we've been going through one on Stevens Hill Road.
I can't know, specific case.
All right, we're not gonna solve it tonight.
No,
It's great to talk
I was
about.
just
Yeah.
wondering the general concept of what that was and if the town need to go through that for every road out there.
Could I ask one just clarifying question? Did you mention that this is a road layout like acceptance meeting, but it has not been surveyed, the existing road?
It's been surveyed to its location and limits, but no meets and bounds descriptions has been put on it.
I see.
So
Okay.
they said, okay, here's the edge, here's the edge,
Okay.
here's the edge, here's the edge, but nothing that says it's, X amount of bearings.
In the old days, you could
Understood.
come in with basically a napkin
Yeah.
and a plan, and you could get it signed by the selectman
Must
or
have
the
been
building
nice.
inspector.
Yep.
And that was your subdivision.
Yes.
Is this possibly why there's a preliminary plan submitted Okay,
No, that was for the preliminary consultation.
Yeah,
oh.
but they submitted
They're
a,
using the same.
they're using the
plan.
same plan.
Yeah,
I'm a little, they shouldn't be, but. Because it has nobody's stamp on it. And this board needs a stamp. Because we're approving new lots.
I was just wondering if maybe they're waiting till after that BOS.
It's, yeah, what the BOS,
probably.
what the select board agrees to vote on
Yeah.
is different. This, I have been, I think you saw this email. How many did?
Mhm.
The current plan in Alana's packet on your website is the one they submitted for the preliminary consultation. And it does not have anybody's stamp on it. It doesn't show the 30K area. It is, in my opinion, not an acceptable plan. But you would all make that decision, but I said you might want to bring this back to the applicant. And Dirk was on the emails saying, this can't be labeled as a preliminary plan. It needs to have a stamp from an engineer showing boundaries of the lots, where the new line is going to be, and that sort of stuff. So we'll hopefully get that in advance for next meeting.
Yeah, I mean, it has to go through an application acceptance. So we have to accept the application, and if it doesn't have the right information on it, we can't accept it.
So the section of the RSA's 231.23, conditional layout. Whenever a highway will be of special advantage to any individual, the selectman may require him to bear such portion of land damages and expenses of constructing and maintaining it, the gates and bars across it, if any, or any of the same as they may deem just, and the highway may be laid out subject to such conditions. So it wouldn't necessarily be on the planning board, it would be on the select board to say, okay, if you want to develop this, you need to upgrade it to sufficient standards.
And I guess I'm trying to figure out why the select board would choose to do anything different from what was applied.
No idea.
Because then they come to the planning board to do their subdivision, and we're bound by what the select board did.
That happened recently with a lot line adjustment over on the lake where there were 3 or 4 lots that had been combined, and the select board uncombined them in a way that I don't think was actually supposed to be done, but it was done and we had to deal with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that bothered me because it was like, what's the deed gonna say now? I don't know. Okay, that was just a question.
Everybody good for tonight?
If I can, just because we have a light night, I know people want to get out of here, but one thing we can start to think about is zoning changes, zoning amendments, and or subdivision and site plan review regulation changes. Last year, if you recall, at the end, not around this time, may have been a little bit later, but in the summer, we started having some earnest conversations, and we actually ended up hanging out quite a number of zoning amendments last year. But that's because we started early. And so we ended up in a good place. We even went through some that didn't make it. We decided, let's pull back on that one. I don't think this group's in agreement, I don't know what the town is gonna. So, you know, we might have only gotten through 5, but we had probably 7, 8, 9 out there that we were considering. So it was really good, it was a good exercise. Well done. We might want to start thinking about that again.
Sorry, what's this, where are those located? I mean, the ones that didn't make it.
Oh, I mean, we still have all the information.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've been keeping, Ed and I, it was mostly me, but I would get stuff from work. I got a running list of things that we've talked about addressing. Sometimes it's just an error, like you just need to go through and fix the errors, right? There's some stuff like that. There's some stuff that are probably minor tweaks that we can probably all agree on. And then there's stuff that starts getting to more of like a philosophical policy type thing. But I know for example, that we talked about, just to give you an example, was ADUs. Right now, the town allows for attached ADUs, it does not allow for detached ADUs. There was a discussion around, do we want to allow for detached ADUs? That one got batted around for a while, and we decided to shelve it. So that's an example of one. I can go through the list, I don't specifically remember anything off the top of my head.
Okay.
that else.
No, that's fine.
But that was kind of, that's, that's an example.
Could you send that
Yeah,
list
I was
out
gonna say,
to us
yeah,
so we
no.
can start noodling on it?
Yeah, no, it's the first time I've looked at it in a little while myself. I do try to go back to it pretty regularly, but, and one of the things that brought me out is I think there might be a couple formatting issues from, adding in those last 5, and I might want to take a quick look at it and see if they carried over or if they're new. So if they're new, then we can fix them real quick. But, yes, I'll send it around. I'll go through it and pull out the ones we've already approved, or maybe ones that we've changed our minds on, and then I'll send it.
Yeah.
The focus might want to be and site plan review, simply because we pay a lot of attention to zoning, the expense of subdivision site plan review, because this group can do that internally. You don't need to go to town meeting to do those 2 documents. So I think that's why we agreed to, let's just put that one aside, let's focus on zoning. We did that, it's still only May technically. So if we get started, maybe we can do some subdivision and then maybe do a couple of zoning ones. The other piece too is, something may come out of this housing plan that we might want to explore. So, just laying out some thoughts for y'all.
Do we have kind of an end date for the Masan chapters?
So the whole thing is not gonna get updated.
Right.
Right, in the near
No.
future, because the last one was done at all the chapters together. Right now, we're doing piecemeal as this grant's going available. The housing one is slated to be done in the sense that it'll be that final public forum presented to the board. I get some feedback, I polish off the report and basically turn it over to the community. You choose to adopt it or not. So that would probably be optimistic as end of the calendar year. It's probably going to be more like a month or 2 into the year after. Because you know how it is, once you get to mid-November,
Yeah.
I just and that's also prime zoning amendment season. So yeah. So that one's around that time. This other one, as Drew noted, the town isn't even accepting the funds yet, so we're not going to get that going for at least a month. And that one's really technical. There's field work, there's a lot of stuff. So that one might not be until, probably like this time next year, maybe an extra month or 2 after that. So that's kind of what we're looking at.
All right. Anything else from anyone? If not, someone want to make a motion to adjourn?
I will make a motion to adjourn.
And second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Thank you, everybody else.